Hola, Tanmaya.
Hola, hola. Hi, Rainy. Good to see
How are
you.
you? Good to see you too.
I'm
I
doing
miss
really
you.
sweetie, I miss you too. You're looking so sweet with this like it.
It's for you. It's for you. Color. I'm like, I need color. What do I need?
Oh, sweet. Good to see you, love.
You remind me of color when I think of you. And movement. Color and movement.
Yeah. Yes, because we have a bit of history together, right? Like I'm not a random therapist you met on the street.
No. I want to know what you do and why you do it.
So first, I'm really happy and honored to be with you on this new podcast and super excited. My name is Tanmaya, and I was born and raised in Israel and have been living in Costa Rica for the past 20 years. I am a therapist, and I hold a form of therapy which I name Four Bodies Therapy, which is basically an understanding of human growth, which is anchored in four different aspects of our beings: our physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual aspects of our beings. And since I can share, if you want, later a little bit about the background and where it came from, but understood that my personal growth and anyone I work with is never complete if we're not directly understanding this continuous spiraling between the four bodies. Sometimes I almost see it like a table that has four legs, and it's so important that we understand that each one of these legs, these aspects of our being, has to be directly attended and strengthened, worked with, so we can feel balanced and we can feel thriving rather than just doing our very best to survive this crazy world. Naturally, there are times in our lives that we would tend more to the physical body and different ways that I'm sure you guys can think about of how can I tend to my physical bodies. Maybe it's time that I'm dedicating more for physical activities. Maybe it's a body cleanse. Maybe it's times that I'm actually taking care of my form. And there are times in our lives that we have to dive deep into our emotional bodies and really work to bring that into the front of the stage and be in touch with our emotions. Not to say that we don't want to do any of those every single day, but there are times that we do more of this, time that we do more of that. And eventually we grow, we grow in this and we grow in that and we grow in this and we grow in that in order to bring those four bodies into balance and continuous growth. Yeah. So I mentioned the physical and the emotional, and then there are times that we have to drop in and really realize what kind of beliefs are running around and within us, and truly start to shift and see which ones are not updated anymore. And the last one is our energetical spiritual beings that in moments of our lives we drop deeper into them, and then they nourish and fertilize all other bodies. And so we take different times for each one of these bodies, but eventually they all work in a synergetic way. And whatever we do, if we see it through, okay, how does this support my physical body? How does this support my emotional, my mental, my energetic body? Then we have a good map of how we're growing as humans.
This theory actually changed my whole life. It brought me into centering who I was, or part of who I was. I think it's an unending job or search. But I met you in 2018 after my yoga teacher training. I realized I needed a cleanse because I I just felt it. And after my teacher training, I went to Samara. And from there, I ended up in the community used to be part of, Pachamama. And in the cleanse, I met you. And since then, we've been together. And I remember one comment I said is like, I don't want to go back to a career or architecture or design. And you said, no, you can go back, but you can go back from a different place, with a different purpose, with a different mission and vision. And at the beginning, I was so resistant, even when you told me that. But today I can see the transformation that took me back where I am, and, opened up this new business and new view of the world around me. So I'm very thankful for that. And I think it started with that cleanse, just cleansing my physical body and going to my mental and spiritual and beliefs and energy.
Yeah, beautiful. That's such an inspiring example of that. Sometimes we do have to rethink what we studied, what we started off as a career, and we understand it's not aligned with our purpose, and we have other ways that we would like to pour our energy and creativity through. But oftentimes this everything we can do from different perspectives. And we worked a lot to understand, I think, yeah, like how you can take that architecture and design world and make it in a way that is truly aligned, truly purposeful, is coming from an understanding of your internal space and how that can be manifested in an external space, and then realizing that you also have that gift of tapping into somebody else's internal landscapes, if you wish, and realizing that that can be manifested, mirrored in an external landscape, which is the space that they hold, right?
Yes, and I was in a way doing that, but I wasn't conscious of that I can see other people inner landscape and reflect that in their surroundings. And so I started having feedback from other people like, wow, now I feel like I'm home, or how did you pick that lamp and know that that was me, right? Not even I know, but now that I have this lamp here, which is an object, but they feel like it's part of them. And in that process, to get to that, and for those clients to realize, we went through a cleanse. We went through a physical cleanse, which is like, is this still part of your life? Do you want this here? Or do you prefer opening your closet or opening the door of your front door when you come from work? And what do you want to see? Like, what is the perspective or the future version of you that you want to show in your surroundings? And I wouldn't have been able to understand that if I wouldn't have been working with my body, specifically my physical body.
What I hear with what you're sharing is that there is almost like a roadmap to that process designing, yeah, which is in the way I see it, is got almost like manifestation of an outer surrounding that would feel like me, that would feel aligned, right? And what I hear in this little roadmap that you just shortly described is that there is some kind of an order. Like it starts with first it starts with an intention. Okay. If we don't want to work with or redo our space internally, externally, then nothing happens, right? So it starts with an understanding of wanting that and sending an intention of doing that. And then there is a need to reset, to clear space, to really check in what is cluttered in a space, which has no no need anymore, no value anymore. Maybe it's even burdening. Maybe it's just full of dust. Maybe it belongs to my ex-wife. Maybe it belongs to a different era of my life. And every day walking around and seeing those objects kind of like, it doesn't allow me to have the new. So intention, and then that kind of like purge, cleanse, as you call it, yeah, of resetting and checking what doesn't belong to the space anymore. And then let me know if I heard correctly, is starting to envision what it is that I do want, and maybe not seeing it fully yet in form, but creating or calling the vibration of it, calling the importance of the qualities that I want. Yeah. And then manifesting it. And then you're the wizard of manifesting it in the physical world in the form of matter. So there is a new office, there's a new house, there's a new, yeah. And my processes are supporting people to manifest it in their internal lives, yeah, in their psyche. But
Yeah.
it's very
And
much the same, which is super beautiful.
it's very similar because when you were talking, I was having memories of being in the cleanse with you, which I've done many cleanses with you since then. But it's specifically that first one and having to go through the process of cleansing the colon, to say it nicely, and it's like there's a suffering. There's also a suffering a little bit because you're releasing in a very quick way, and you're also changing the way you eat. So you have to go inside. There's no one else around. It's only you and your body. And during that process, there is a little bit, I'm going to use the word, or letting go, but it goes so inside, right? And then having you and your team and the people around you, and the people that are there cleansing as well, that creates like a little community because we're all going through it, right? And so you don't feel completely alone, even though you are inside. There's people around you supporting you, and you feel that space. And I think also when remodeling these places with these people, they are also going through a form of cleansing and suffering and trying, not to release. They don't want to release certain objects or certain things or a certain vision of their past self. And then, but having me hold space for them, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I think you're right. Maybe that doesn't belong in my space anymore. But the core, once you start cleansing, you see that core of who you are. So I can see the design of their preference. So there's always that little dot in between the clutter. And I think that's what happened in the cleanses with you.
Yeah, yeah. Describe a process that I know so well, and that's why my personal growth in it. Once I started cleansing my body, which was, I don't know, maybe like 28 years ago, back in Goa in India, it was so pivotal in the sense of everything I knew before that about transformation took a new form. And so, though I come from psychology and dance movement therapy and psychotherapy and focusing and breathwork, and there was all, is still all that emotional work, I I feel it's never complete without doing the work in the physical realms. And for me, it's within the body, it's the colon, it's the liver. And I love how it communicates with the work you do, because it is really about this physical world, right? Eventually, we are a soul traveling within a temple, within a physical body, and that physical body is held within an environment. And whatever goes, we all know the saying, as above, so below, as within, so without. And so in that way, it's very parallel in that sense of we have to go through that where we clear space so we can then rebuild. We do the same with the microbiome. It's incredible. Eric, we really clear and we purge whatever has been allowed to get a grip over our internal environment, our internal intestines, so new colonies can grow, right? And I feel in many ways it's the same with spaces. Sometimes you have to demolish completely a space and rebuild the whole thing, and sometimes can redesign it, correct?
Yeah. And sometimes I use things that are, at the end of the day, sometimes I use exactly what they have after we cleared the clutter. We use what they existing, but then just add a few things, right? Just to add some colors, or I mentioned the word lamp, or a color, removing a color. And then when you were speaking, I was thinking about this movement, right? So there's movement. So we have to knock a wall, or we have to change color. We have to bring people into your home or office or whatever, right? And that's uncomfortable, having other people in your space. It's very similar, right? Because you ask us to move, right? And there's yoga and there's movement while we're cleansing. But in reality, I just want to be in bed, covering in a sheet and not think about. But then it's true what you're saying about the body. That's where the transformation really happens, when you're cleansing inside, but you bring that movement out. And when you start moving, everything starts like shifting back together.
Yeah.
Everything's coming into place.
Yeah.
But it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's true. And that's the growing pain in a way. But if you were to ask me what I believe are the sources of disease, okay, and pain in the world, but really disease in our bodies, disease in our societies, yeah, I would say it comes from disconnection and stagnation. And so the work I do, which in many ways is all the work you do, is to bring the medicine for these two diseases, to bring connection where there is disconnection, and to bring flow, movement where there's stagnation. You see it in spaces, I see it in people's bodies and their psyche, and it's quite the same. We are living in times and in a Western society that puts all its efforts into disconnecting us, first and foremost, from ourselves, from one another, and from nature. Yeah. This is where, we're holding our phones, we're just going with our phones. We wake up first thing in the morning, we're checking our phones. With this, we feel we find connection. But I have teenage girls, and I see how it is in these times where it's not the way it used to be when we used to grow up. And I'm older than you, but where it's clear that communication happens face to face, eye to eye, in a straightforward way, and not through me TikToking or me. Yeah. So disconnection, and that disconnection, it starts within our own bodies. We don't know how to listen to whatever comes as hints, as little signals that then take us to the understanding of A, what's going on, B, what we need, C, where we want to go from there, right? It comes and starts from being disconnected from nature. As simple as that. And so that work of connecting can happen through therapy, can happen through a cleanse, can happen through stepping out to nature, can happen through stepping into your home, and all of a sudden it's really a home and not four walls with things inside them. So we connect, and then coming back to what you spoke about, the movement, that's the other thing, because the more disconnected we are, the more there is the tendency for stagnation, where things are stuck, and then when they stuck, they start to get inflamed, they start to stink, they start to smell. Yeah, I'm speaking in metaphors, but it really is within our bodies. And if you look at spaces, it's like they're stagnant, nothing has been moved, It's full of dust. We walk around it because it's like that lamp is stuck or that sofa is stuck there for years, and nobody dare to
move it.
move it. As simple as that, right? And so that antidote of moving, really physically, would do it with knocking off walls, and I would encourage people to move, to have a dance, to, but eventually we're bringing back that essence of flow, movement, connection, which again, if you ask me, these are the antidotes. This is what our planet needs in order to heal.
Also, I have a few things. One is about going back to cleansing and being empty. So if my colon is empty, I have more room to think. I have more room to process certain things.
Mhm.
And the problem is where it becomes scary is when, at least my personal experience, is a lot of thoughts when I'm cleansed, a lot of thoughts come from the past that I even thought I forgot. Things that happen that in the moment I'm like, that was trauma inducing. And I didn't even realize. And it was a 5-second thing. But when my body's cleansed, these things start surfacing. And it's almost like my organs are sending messages like, look, this scene that you're viewing now, it's still inside of me, even if you're not conscious of it. So all of these things start, and it's a flood. And this is the moment where I think being in a community or cleansing with people or moving with people help you. Because you realize that you're not alone and you have support.
Very true. Whenever we start opening basements, I will speak on the body level, but then
Yeah.
you know that it's exactly the same thing as you start opening spaces, right? And
Mm-hmm.
we are embodied beings. Our spaces are an embodiment of our beings. And whenever we start moving things around, cleansing things around, purging, washing, rinsing, however you want to call it, yeah, it awakens up cellular memory. Everything is held within us. And so just as when you will move that sofa that has been there for 30 years and belonged to my grandmother, and the memories that are attached to it, as we start moving toxins within our bodies, they have the potential to start releasing memories. Okay. I would say that experiencing thousands of people cleansing, I don't know if the word trauma is correct here, because what happens in a certain container is that you actually have the opportunity to have it rising up, as you said, for like a short period of time and being purged. It doesn't come in a form, I never encountered it in a form of flooding and being too much, because it comes when it's ready to move out. And so, again, just as when you're redesigning a space and you start opening drawers and there are odd letters there, but you're ready for this cleanse. So memories would come and feelings would come along with those memories, but then that purging, that moving them, or reorganizing it, and just having now, okay, so that drawer belongs to, I have more space to put other things. It gives that fresh balance that we're looking for when we're redesigning our internal landscapes, external landscapes. Yeah. But it's very much that, because we are one. This is where the four bodies come from. We cannot just move things in our internal space on the physical level without moving them on the emotional level. We cannot be connected to something which is greater than us, energetic, spiritual level, without having that impacting our physical body. They're all intertwined.
Thank you for saying that, because even you just saying removing the word trauma, I felt healing. Like already my mind is like, okay, now I understand even more why these things came up. And the reason is simply because I wasn't ready in the moment. And then when these memories came up, then it means I'm ready. I'm ready to push them out and see them with a different light. But also you mentioned something about technology, and you brought me a lot of memories of my childhood. And I remember creating spaces in nature and having room to just think. I used to dream so much. I used to create little houses with trees, with fallen trunks and like branches. And I was always creating homes around me or spaces or like my place. But I was also climbing walls, and I was also climbing to rooftops so I can see the whole view, or just lay down and adventure. Like I remember one time I left the house, but I did leave the house with my dog, and I discovered a river around our house, and I came back home and I'm, Mom, there's a river here. And my mom is super adventurous, so she's like, okay, let's go. So we did like this whole trip to just go find this river or this stream. And it was a whole adventure. We even found like apple trees and things like that. But that play, when we're busy with our technology, we don't have room for that. And after our cleanses and our time together, you mentioned something about play. And I think that was something I was missing in my designs, playfulness, because everything had to be perfect or a certain aesthetic. And then I realized, no, let's put something crazy in this corner. Something crazy that obviously, based on the person, like a pop of color. And sometimes my clients are like, are you sure? Are you sure this orange couch is going to work in this corner? And then that is the piece that they love the most. That orange little lounge chair is the thing they use the most in their home or investment property or whatever. And so technology has removed that. But also one more thing about technology, I realized with AI that it could be a gift of doing things faster so I can have more time. Now, what we're doing with that time is what's precious.
Completely. There were many things I can relate to and speak to, but definitely allowing play to be part of our lives. And I wonder what it means for you, play. I understand that like doing something crazy and putting this orange sofa, but how does it translate to design, to your life, to...
Yeah, wow, that's a good question, because it takes me even deeper of what I was saying. It's this room to just create in my mind. For example, like I'm trying to leave my phone in my house and going out to nature without a phone. And some people are like, oh, that's dangerous but every time I leave my phone home is where I get to meet the most people. I don't know how. It's like naturally, maybe I'm more open, maybe I'm less distracted, but it's the time I meet the most people. And so that's fun for me, or that's playful. Yeah.
Exactly. There could be so many things to be said about play, but Winnicott, which is one of the fathers of psychoanalytics and connected very much to developmental psychology, he worked with the term play for years. He emphasized that a child's development is based the allowing and the carving space for play in their lives. Yeah. This is where the imagination starts to become fluent. This is where creativity is being born from. This is where so even linguistic abilities are being connected to the physical world, and it comes through play. This is how, when you see babies, this is how they learn, right? Now, connecting that to technology, because there were many things along the last, the 20th and the 21st century that took us away from play. Not to say that also in the 15th century there were moments, or misunderstandings around the importance of it, but especially in the last decades, technology was a pivotal point where, because you see 1-year-old children, like they give them that phone, and it gives a moment of like quiet
Peace.
around it, right? Like you can do your thing and he's like zombied around the computer. And not to bring judgment around it, because I also had my fair share of having my girls to and also they want, but it's all a question of when, how much, and understanding the price that we pay for it. And the price is huge and on many levels, but just that thing of play, yeah, it's not for no reason. If you would go into that, it would be really clear for you. Why is it that when you walk outside, when you take a walk and you're not with your phone, you allow how you say it?
Serendipity. Serendipity.
Serendipities. Ah, and more encounters. And there is something which is, by definition, more available for life. Whereas when we have that, it's almost like a protection layer. Yeah, we spoke about it not too long ago in my kids' school, about the fact that there was this, like, it came from debating phones for kids, yes or no, wait till 9 campaign, all sorts of, like, ninth grade, not 9 years old. And one of the things that were shared there was that children lost even the ability, and the flexibility of, like, if something happens, what do I do? Well, they have a phone, they call immediately mom or dad, and they're gonna solve it. Obviously, sometimes that's not available, but what did we used to do as kids? What was happening until 10, 15 years ago? Yeah. There was a whole other area of possibilities that we knew how to explore. We knew how to recognize an adult that we could trust. We could ask them, hey, we got lost, or, like, I need help. We knew how to ask for help. That's another big piece of our lives that we're like, we can do everything between us and the AI. We can buy anything, we can do anything, and so coming back into disconnection, yeah. But these are skills that we lost. And so, we can go far with that. But
My God.
play is huge. Play is huge.
Well, what is bringing into mind is when when you were talking was about a lot of the time CEOs are paid a lot of money to find solutions, right? And when you talk to these CEOs, not everyone, but I remember the owner of the company I used to work for, he said his childhood was spent in nature just sketching. That's all he did. Sketching, 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 sketching. And the things that he wasn't good at, he would hire the best people. So for him, hiring the best people that were really good, he never thought he was the greatest. Never. But he saw talent. And also his time, he would spend it sketching, even in meetings. Tanmaya, we would be in meetings with owners, like big, big companies, and he would be sketching in the meetings. But when he would open his mouth, it was always about a solution. It was always something that would bring the biggest impact in a project. Like the most modern, the most futuristic, but also the anchor of everything. So everyone in the room would be silenced. And then he would go back to his sketching.
Yeah. I hear a couple of things here. First of all, that what we see with the sketching piece, and let me know if is
Yeah.
that first it was connected, like it was just like a streaming of his own, yeah, even if it's a doodle, yeah, like just doodling and or sketching, but he had allowed and kept alive the streaming of his own flow. Okay, whereas we oftentimes are taught to shift and be whole attentive into what's going on in the outside, yeah, and try to like constantly bring the reply, constantly react to whatever wherever is coming from the outside, rather than being anchored in our own being, allowing the streaming of our own flow to move while other parts of us are, yeah, because obviously he was listening, it wasn't detached
Detach
from,
now.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
he kept alive the thread that kept him connected to his own stream. Yeah, and the other thing is that perhaps that was his way to align his nervous system, to reset his nervous system, to not be on that like mode of reacting all the time, but staying in a calm mode as a doodle. Yeah. And what you say is that these things allowed him to then bring with words what was most impactful. Interesting.
That's very
Brings me to the thought of like, what do we do in our lives, each one of us, in order to stay connected to that inner stream of who we are and what's moving through us and the creativity line? And yeah, because there are many ways to do that. You don't always need, sketching is just one way. And sometimes it's just about, okay, you're in a meeting, all your attention is there. But then what do you do in the half hour after? What do you do when you go to pee? Are you just like thinking about what they said and how you're going to reply to them? Or are you taking a moment to shake your energy or close your eyes and just be in your own stillness? 3 seconds on the toilet, but boom, like connected back into you. And what do you do in order to reset your nervous system? These things were not taught to us. And you see, you see people that naturally connected or never lost that connection and how it impacts their lives.
Yes, and that reminds me that because that was a tool he used as a kid, right? And so he's using that childhood tool that helped him to, run a business, to bring these ideas forward. And that goes back to the play and the technology. It goes back to having the space and time. But also brings me back to the, when you were saying going back to yourself, your spaces allow that. For example, like if in your office or there's lighting that is not very good or the bathroom is not very good, like these little things that you think are not important are. Our spaces around us also affect our inner world and our outer world. It's like, it's all related because it's true. We are in this physical world and we need to bring beauty, but beauty from a place of purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. A few things came to me as you spoke about it now. First is what I said before, as within, so without, as above, so below. And so for me personally, if my room is all messed up, I feel it. I feel it. If it's dirty, I feel uncomfortable. As when it is settled, I can come and light a candle and I can light an incense and I have a little flower, and it's simple, but these things are carrying vibration. They're carrying information that in the outer space we perceive through our eyes and maybe what we smell. Yeah. And in a way, it's exactly like food. You know that the way I see food is not calories, or not even, it's even bigger than nourishment. Yeah, it is coding of information. everything we put into our bodies are codes of information. What we see, what we hear, what we smell, and especially living in Western societies where what you see outside your window are lots of concrete and very little sky and a lot of noise oftentimes that washes through our system unconsciously, day in, day out, day in, day out. And that has an impact. And so I chose to relocate my life. So what I see when I open my window is green and a river. And I that's what I want that would wash my internal skies. Yeah. Know that it doesn't make me think, like it's not, things that our internal processes are still as they are. But my point is that especially if the outside environment does not allow us to find that quiet and peace that we need within ourselves, that balance that we are thriving for, joy, whatever. Like I would start with like ask yourself what it is that you're missing in your life and being willing to name it, being willing to call it. And it can change from one day to another, but understanding that if that is not something that is easily you can get from the outside, because oftentimes those things we don't. How do I create at least in my home an environment that would support that? Then how can I take it even for a step further, make sure that my really internal system is a reflection of what I want? Yeah. Same as how I take care that my room would be a reflection of what I want. Yeah.
And that brings me to the question of like, what things do you use when you travel? For example, to bigger cities, or you're going to spend time with family somewhere outside of your beautiful fairy home that you currently live. Like, what are the tools that you use that can?
So I shared I live for 20 years in Costa Rica. And we don't travel much, but once a year we go normally back to Israel, where both my and my husband's families are coming from, and we still have many dear friends there, and obviously family. And so for many years, first it's a very challenging, it's a long flight, transatlantic, never with like, it's always at least 2 stops on the way, and jet lag and all that. So first and foremost, acknowledge that the body goes through a shift. Yeah. Even from where I live to San Jose, which is the capital of Costa Rica, and it's a city, acknowledging the fact that it's a shift, a different space, it's a different ecosystem. And I always say we are an internal ecosystem that constantly communicates with the outer ecosystem. And so when I travel, I know that my internal ecosystem is in a reorientation, oftentimes go through disorientation. Airplanes are the biggest disorienting, yeah, because everything changes there. The pressure of the air, food which is not food, all that throws our system off balance. And so it starts with acknowledging, yeah, okay, I know that that's what's going on. Yeah. So first and foremost, I would make sure that I'm taking care of my internal system. I never travel without probiotics. Simple, yeah, but okay, those just to make sure that my internal ecosystem is getting supported. Now, that's a whole talk on its own. What type of probiotics and how do I know that they support me? But once you find the ones that are helpful for you, especially when you go out on planes or when you're going into a place where it's not the food it's not the climate it's not your normal routine, that would be the first thing. Yeah. Then I would make sure that at least something I bring with me, even the smallest thing, which I can put next to my bed that kind of like reminds me or make it a little bit. So I always travel with a little crystal. Yeah. that for me holds that, say,
Remember?
manifestation, say
Okay.
remembrance is a
Remember.
great, yeah, remembrance is a great way. And I feel like I can, I can place it and it would absorb some energy, and I can wash it, and it can help me like move through these energies. Yeah. But if we don't want to use those external supports, then it's really with the fact of like, okay, know that your system needs a moment to realign. So simple things we can do is, first thing in the morning, open the window and look outside, not open our phone. Yeah. Look at the sun if the sun is rising. Look at whatever I can see from the window of where I landed. Yeah. Even if it's, to allow my system to slowly recognize and slowly, oh, this is where I'm at. What I'm saying is that I'm doing it intentionally. It's not like, by the way, I found myself here in Israel. Ooh, all of a sudden I'm in Tel Aviv. All of a sudden I'm in San Jose. I'm okay. So I wake up and I would go outside and I will spend 2-3 minutes like looking around, smelling, opening my ears, and kind of like telling my system, hi, we're here. Welcome to this new space. Yeah. I would also say that for many years, we would first land at our parents' house and then we would maybe sublet a place or so. But then when we realized how disorienting this is, then we made sure that at least when we land, we go to somewhere which is neutral. It's either an hotel room or an Airbnb or somewhere where it's like, okay, it's not packed with energy of, at least not parents. So that was very, very helpful for me as well.
Yeah. So you gave your body time to readjust. You also told it we're in a new environment. So the sun is different, the lighting is different, the smells are different. So you're telling your nervous system and your senses that, look, we're safe, we are safe, we have our own space, and my family is with me. I think that's precious. I think that is, yeah, I'm almost speechless about this because also you mentioned something about being without technology. We've lost a lot of things. And I think one of the things we've lost is smell. Because if you research, like before, like dogs I think are the best example. It's like they smell people, they smell energies almost. It's almost like if you're mad, they go like this. She mad? Like it's something about this. And also smelling tells you, like you were saying about the odors, any body odors, it tells you something's wrong with your body. But what do? We use very harsh chemicals on our bodies. And we can't smell it, and our body's trying to communicate this.
Yeah.
And same with our spaces, like you were mentioning, like even our spaces tell us, even food is communicating with us. It's rotting. It's time to throw it away or move it or change it or not use this space anymore. So
Exactly. Very,
beautiful.
very, very, very true. And I couldn't express it better than I did. Yeah. Of making sure that I allow my system to feel safe. Regulating my nervous system is the base of then allowing a creative flow to come, of then feeling that I belong to the world, that then feeling that I can express myself. It starts from consciously regulating my nervous system, because what is what is the reflection of the disconnection? We're all thrown into a constant sympathetic nervous system ruling the game, the one which is on fight, flight, freeze, running on cortisol, adrenaline, and so on. Yeah. Stress. We know we didn't drop that word yet into, but that's the essence of everything, right? And so going from one space to the other, even traveling to the city, create a level of stress in the body, because all of a sudden there is more traffic, because all of a sudden there is different stimuli going on, because all of a sudden there is different food going in, there's and missions that normally go for for a reason. But even if I would go for vacation, there is a level of like adjustments that needs to happen. And so if we consciously know that and allow the meeting our bodies to regulate, that changes everything. Now, if we can, on top of it, that's maybe cannot happen in a city. But one of the things that we lost is the connection of feet to earth, right? And that would be something that I really emphasize every time I travel with airplanes, that as soon as I can, I will take off my shoes and I will just step on the earth. It can be a little garden, it can be wherever, yeah, go to a park, because that allows the connection of the system back into its source, back into the ecosystem that it's around. And that has also the ability to realign the electric magnetic flow that is all around us and gets very, very crazy when we are traveling with airplanes and so on.
Spending a lot of time in New York talking about cities, what I would do as well, instead of taking my shoes off, I touch with my hands a tree. I just touch it. It might be different, you know more than me, but when I touch that tree, I'm like, people are gonna think I'm crazy, but I don't care. And in the middle of the city, there's usually like a little park, or there's always something. Or I'll go and smell a rose, like a little garden, or that I'm walking on the street, and there's always something of nature. And also one thing you said, like looking at the sky, I would do that too, like skyscrapers. I'm walking in Midtown and I'll just look up.
True.
And then
It's not the same as the soles of our feet, but it does the work also, because that tree is connected to the earth and it has its roots and it goes all the way through. And so it is better. Yeah. Like if we can, it's that. And it has a magnetic electrofield that can be actually measured, but it also has the intentional piece there, which is just, okay, I am connected back to nature. Hence, I'm connected back to myself. Hence, I am more available to connect to you. And all that things are like, whoop, it's in one go through a system. And even daring to look crazy and touch a tree, smell a rose, look up in the sky, especially if you can see some trees, yeah, even if you walk in New York City.
thank you. One more question about, we mentioned earlier about like sacred spaces, and I know we can go very deep into this, but we have a little bit of time. I know there's sacred spaces all around the world. There's spaces, but working with you, what I realized, my most sacred space, it's not my surroundings in reality, it's what's inside of me. And I think that's been the most hardest thing to realize, to see myself, because there's been fear, even looking at the mirror, right? But you told me once about no one can touch your inner space. No one can go into your space. Your space is protected. Your inner space is yours. Yours, and in the universe, or God, our creator, or where we came from. That always, when I'm in the most stressful moments, I always close my eyes and think about this space, that it only belongs to me. And yeah, thank you for that.
Because in truth, this is what it is, the most sacred center of our centers can never be touched by anything or anyone. No matter what we've been through, no matter how many challenging life experiences we had, even through the most deforming traumas, there is always a center of our soul that have never been touched and can never be touched. And nobody has any mission to tap into. And then oftentimes we lose the connection with that. And so when we see ourselves as temples that have layers. And then at the center of the center, there is that like the most sacred emptiness. Actually, it's an empty space. There is nothing really in there. That's why nobody can go in it. That's why it's like the center of a vortex or the eye of a storm. It's completely empty, and it's completely still, and it's completely available just for you to tap into it. And so when we think of ourselves as space, as temples, and we agree to know that through all the layers, there is that most precious diamond that can never be moved, and we consciously work in order to be connected with that diamond. That's simply said, that's the essence of meditation. That's the essence of mindfulness. That's the essence of any practices that bring us back home, is tapping into that which belongs to no one but your soul's essence. And we run around our lives without being connected to that. But actually, it's exactly as simple as you said it. Once we know it's there, we at least can rest into that knowing. And that's huge.
And I'm so thankful for your teachings and your support, and for always being with me, and for coming here and talking about spaces in general. I'm forever grateful. Thank you so much.
You're
Thank
so
you.
welcome. And I will say that if anybody wants to explore my work, maybe you can put my website in the
show notes. I will.
Yeah. Beautiful.
But just in general, what's your handle? Your Instagram handle?
Tanmaya Daniel. And my website is tanmaya.life.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful talking to you. Bye, sweetie.